In today's episode of Klartext Triathlon, presented by Primal Harvest and feels.like, Sebi talks to former pro and XTERRA organizer Nico Lebrun about his own athletic history, the XTERRA World Cup, the present and the future of cross triathlon. And now our presenter Primal Harvest brings you the advertisement. Are you ready to take your performance to the next level? Discover Primal Greens, the secret of many triathlon professionals, the concentrated power of nature in just one spoonful daily with 27 types of fruits and vegetables and the support from spirulina and chlorella. Over 25 vitamins and minerals, optimally supplemented with antioxidants and bacterial strains you need for peak performance, loved by professionals and indispensable in their daily routines. Save 15% on your purchase, one time or with a subscription with code Klartext Triathlon, big and together, valid on the first and second billing. Visit primalharvest.de and you will also find all information in the show notes. And now enjoy listening.
Hi and welcome back to another international episode on Klartext Triathlon. We have another very special guest today, Frenchman Nico Lebrun, world champion himself, both in XTERRA and in Winter Triathlon. Salut Nico, how are you doing today? Good to have you on the podcast.
Hello Sebi, good. I'm happy to be here with you.
So you just had a long period of traveling in Asia. We also met for the start of the World Cup, the XTERRA World Cup in Taiwan. About 1.5 weeks ago. But you spent some more time down there in Asia. Just take us a bit into what is happening in Asia right now. I think there's some pretty cool projects that we can expect in the next couple of years.
Yes, you were there in Taiwan, so you saw how beautiful this island is, and this race is so special. So it's we are always so happy to start the season in Taiwan with a special atmosphere for the first World Cup of the season. Then yes, I spent some time in Hong Kong, like I spent time last year also in China, in Philippines, or in Nepal. We just launched the XTERRA Nepal yesterday, I think, officially. So we try to grow this whole area, and also now like this week we have Rotorua in New Zealand, and we'll have Australia. So yes, of course we try to have more and more races, and not only in Europe but globally, and Asia is one of our focus. So yes, I found a very nice place and interesting in Hong Kong. So we don't know yet what will be the future, but for sure all the elements there are very good for our sport, and I was so surprised about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I saw it with my own eyes how beautiful it can be to race in a location like in Taiwan. Was close to a national park, and you mentioned all the other locations that are getting on the list. So I think for the World Cup there might be some very interesting new locations. We talk about the World Cup in general later in the podcast a bit more in detail. But first of all, I want to know how or if you had those beautiful locations when you were still active yourself. As I said in the introduction, you are a world champion yourself, both in XTERRA and in Winter Triathlon. Just take us briefly back into your own career as a professional and how it all started up.
I start first with duathlon. So I start on the road first, running and road biking. I grew up in Nice, so my first dream was to do the long distance and to race in Nice, because it was huge with Marc Allen at this time, and Yves Cordier was my first coach. So this is like another generation. Maybe you don't know those people, but they were our heroes.
I know the names, yeah.
Exactly. Those people were, like when I started, it was the top guy. And growing in Nice, my dream was really to do these big events. Like when I was young, at 20 years old, like Hawaii was the big race, but Nice and Rhodes were like huge. So, and then very quick, I realized my swimming was really, really weak, and I discovered duathlon. So I jumped in this sport to be able to to have some international result quite quick, and because I was a good runner and quite okay in cycling. And then I was also a skier since like my young age. I grew up in Nice, but not really Nice, in a small village just in the mountains, 40 km from Nice. So skiing was also my background. So I start also, when I discovered winter triathlon, to do a little bit of winter triathlon in the winter. It was perfect combination. We all race like cross country or other events in the winter, so the winter triathlon was a good add. And yes, I won twice the world championship, and every winter I was doing some winter triathlon. And then in 2000, I discovered XTERRA, and from the first race with XTERRA in 2001, I did a race in Richmond, Virginia, and I think I found really my sport with not only the sport but also the team. The athletes were doing it, this whole atmosphere, and like when we talk about XTERRA family, it was true from the start, and I get hooked to it, and I never changed. After that, I was still doing some duathlon sometime or winter triathlon. From 2001, my focus started to be like 100% with XTERRA, and until 2013 when I retired. And then I start some coaching, and slowly XTERRA start to hire me to work on technical side in Europe, because Europe market was growing a lot. We had more and more races, and the crew from US like needed somebody in Europe, and this is how I ended up working for XTERRA.
Yeah, sounds like a very interesting story, and it's always nice to have ex-professionals joining the organizers on their side with the knowledge of racing, and then combining the organization or organizing side. So you just mentioned you did some road racing and then switched to XTERRA. Did you realize you were better off doing XTERRA races, or was it because you enjoyed the racing more, or was it on the money side of things? I mean, as a professional, we also need to see how we get around financially. How was racing back then? Was it as competitive as it is now, or even more so?
I think you mentioned many points, and it was all of that. Like first you need. I wanted to be a pro athlete, or you want to try to be a pro athlete, to make this, to make your passion, that is to make like your job. So it was a dream to convert this passion as a job, but not always easy when you are a sport like this, and especially when you are really weak on the swimming side. And it was like I was a little bit. I don't know, like I felt like my weakness in swimming will always be a big lock to go to Olympic or to serious like triathlon, making like enough money. So I knew from the start it will be like a difficult challenge to be professional only in duathlon or winter triathlon or these small sports. So XTERRA was first, yes, an opportunity, because I saw this sport in US with quite a good money. They had like Nissan as sponsor this time, and the prize money was pretty good, very good organization there. And also, yes, I realized that I was way stronger in a mountain bike than in a road bike, or because I grew up again in the mountains, and when I was young I was always in doing mountain bike. Even when I was young, mountain bike didn't exist. It was more like a BMX, like all these kind of bikes. But I was always, on tracks, somewhere in a single track with my bike. So it was maybe more natural for me. And the same for trail running. I was like also moving faster and fast. In fact, comparing to other guy on a trail than on the road. So it was a combination of many things. And also, when you want to be a pro athlete, one of my dream was to travel, to meet different people, different cultures. So like seeing that this sport will be like all of that, this is how I never move, and I jump 100% on this adventure.
Yeah, and I think it's still like this today. So you've taken the passion out of your own professional past into the organizing side of things now, and the the locations are still as beautiful, even if even not more beautiful than they used to be. And so out of like these many locations we have globally, you managed with the other organizers to form a World Cup series that got started last year. Can you take us back into the decision making? How did it all? How did this idea get started or ignited in a way that we have this 7-stop World Cup now with actually quite a good field of professionals?
I think this idea is quite old, but because before, I don't know if you remember that for elites, we had like 3 different tours, like series. One was in US or Panam, it depends the year. This is how I started. When I started, it was only a US tour with points, the same we have like for the World Cup. So a point series with a prize money at the end with of the ranking with like accumulate points. And we had one, then it grows in Europe, then we had a new one in Europe, and then we had also one in Asia Pacific. So we had this system, but only by region. And slowly, maybe in like 2017, 18, we started to think that for elites, the regional tour was perfect for age grouper, but for elites, we should, have something more global to have like the World Cup, like many like official and bigger sports. This is why we started to think about that, but it took time. And in 2019, we were almost ready to make it, and then COVID came. So this is how somehow it started so late. But the idea is quite old, and then you need to also to get organized, because from a regional management, we had to move to a global management, and that also COVID helped to put everything down, and everybody agree. We had time to discuss and to coordinate all the teams, and have also the support of our boss to do all this new project. And yes, last year finally it started to be real.
So one of the positive sides of COVID was eventually then that you had a lot of time to sit in the office and get coordinated. It seemed you have found a really good team from a lot of people all around or all over the world. So when you come to a World Cup race, it seems like there's at least like 10 people involved in everything, in the logistics and in the race organization itself. But how exactly is this team made up of? Is it organizers from specific races themselves, or is it people that only work globally? Can you give us some insights on that?
So we always have locals, of course. A race cannot happen without a very big and strong local team. So every races, it's first about our local team. So in Taiwan, it's a little bit different, because this is we have like own event and license event. So for example, Taiwan is 100% own race, because Taiwan is one of our office globally. We have an office in Greece for Europe. We have an office in US, and we have an office in Taiwan for Asia Pacific. So these 3 offices are like discussing all the time. We are always now, online, and we have like meetings, and we are really connected. But in Taiwan, so we have a big crew there, and this crew are putting on the event. But of course, you need a lot of contractors. You need a lot of people to work for the events, and all these people are locals. We as global team, we are there to help and to manage all the points and the rules, or thing like that, or like help on the media side, or all this. But all the races are really managed by locals all the time.
All right, yeah, but sounds like something that definitely makes sense to have local people also that know their infrastructure and can help you with the courses. But eventually, the courses still have to be in a way that they suit everyone. So how does that evolve that you find a course that you say, okay, this is good for amateurs, but as well as elite athletes? Are you pre-writing the courses yourself as an ex-professional, or how do you plan the courses?
Yeah, this is one of my job as I'm the technical director of XTERRA, and so this is something I always do. So when we start to think about a new location, like I explained, like I was like in Nepal or in Hong Kong or different location. This is my sector to understand, to go with locals, or they have already a loop to propose me, and I will tell them, okay, this is too easy, this is too hard. It's just I'm coming with the knowledge of like our population in XTERRA, what's their level, their average level, what we want, because we know like the athletes, they can ride a mountain bike, but we are not also like a pure mountain biker, like with like doing like mountain bike World Cup, like a lot are triathletes, or they are like quite new from mountain biking, so we don't want to scare them. And also if it's like only fire road and not interesting, it's also boring and people will not come back, and we need also a little bit of everything. This is yes, my job to make sure we find the best solution in a location, because it's not always possible. And when you are in Netherlands, we have a beautiful race, so not this year, but of course you cannot ask them to have like big climbs.
Yes.
So it's you have to adapt to what, and we cannot say, oh no, you cannot have a XTERRA because you don't have like mountains. So we have to adapt and find the best in every location and make sure it suits to our athletes. Of course, we always have like races harder than other, because you were in Taiwan and you saw this race is pretty hard. There's a lot of climbing, very steep, some technical section. So of course, this one is like perfect for professional athletes like you or me. I love to do this loop. When you love mountain biking and you have some skills, but for amateur it's a little bit too hard. So it's okay because it's a World Cup. It was just like a silver race, more like focus on age group. I will ask the local team to make it easier. It depends also, like, okay, for World Cup I think everybody can understand that it's it can be a hard race, and also because like that people are, even they walk a lot their bike, they are proud to finish or to try a World Cup. So it's easier to accept for everybody to have a hard race. But again, we try to find the best of every location, because like I said, a race is more about people, about a big crew that have the motivation, can find the local funding and everything. So sometimes, even it's not a perfect loop, for biking or running, we have to find, because this is where we have the crew and the financial support and everything.
Yeah, but that's also one of the cool things, or the things that make XTERRA special. The fact that you have so many different locations and obviously then so many different courses. I mean, also thinking of XTERRA Belgium last year, we had the Citadel on top of the city, where we had the transition area and all the running and also part of the biking. So yeah, it seems you always try to combine the local culture with racing, and this is what really makes it worthwhile, and racing so much fun. But coming back to the World Cup, how do you eventually decide which locations are going to be part of the World Cup series?
I don't think we really decide about that. What we did is we selected all our best event as far as size of the organization. How like, because to have a World Cup, we need to make sure the organizer have a big financial support from the local community. They used to have a big race in the past, and they already proved that they are capable to do this kind of event. So it means we already selected the biggest events we had, like to put on the table, and then after we we contact them. I mean, the race that we own, like for example, like I said, in Taiwan, we control 100% of the race. Or Oak Mountain, this is the US crew, control 100% of the race. Or now also like Czech or Molveno. So this is different. We do whatever we want because this is our event. We don't sign a license with a third party. But for the other, like Belgium, like or Greece, we study the races. We have the list of races that we think they have like enough experience and the location and the access, many points, like you said. Also the culture, for example, adding Greece this year, I think it's really nice because you're also like inside the city with a big culture that people can go and visit and have some amazing vacation there. It's a beautiful place. This is where we had the triathlon Olympic race in 2004 for Athens Olympics. So there is a big history with triathlon. So we found many elements that can be perfect for World Cup, and then we see if the organizer is willing or able to make this step, because financially is not the same, and also for many points, for like permits to close maybe more roads and having more people and more pressure. So and then we discuss, and if we found an agreement, then we sign.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, for me as a European, it's quite handy that we have 4 races in Europe and only 3 that I really have to travel to or take a plane. But yeah, I've also talked to athletes like Kieran McPherson from New Zealand, and he is obviously not that happy that we have so many stops in Europe. So coming from the US or Australia, New Zealand, it's a bit hard for those athletes that they have to come to Europe so many times. So do you think in the next couple of years we can expect more global stages, or will it be pretty focused on Europe? I mean, obviously, right now the best athletes in the XTERRA circus come from Europe as well, especially from France. So what can we expect on that side?
Oh, this is our dream. Of course, it's like now, it's not really that we want to have all this race in Europe. It's just like the last 10, 15 years, the European races like grow a lot, and we have, like you said, more people in Europe, more like strong athletes, and you don't know if it's why exactly it switched from US to Europe like this, because when I started, it was very small in Europe, and all the races were in US, and all the strong athletes were in US and everything. And slowly, during my careers, I saw like the whole thing, change, and now we have this since many years, that European like market for XTERRA and cross triathlon it's way bigger than the rest of the world, as far as everything, size of races, amount of athletes, and the level of the athletes and everything. So we kind of follow the market right now. Of course, we had like enough races to do the World Cup only in Europe if we wanted, but of course, hopefully we have some own event or bigger event like Quebec, who are willing to have a World Cup, and they can get the support and they have everything to do it. But for sure, this is our goal, to make it more balanced. That will be the dream, like scenario, to have like the maybe 3 in Asia Pacific, 3 in Europe, and maybe 1 in South Africa. This is where also trying to push South Africa, and 3 in the America zone. Maybe 1 in South America, 1 in US, 1 in Canada. Of course, this is our dream, to balance and have more events, and to make sure everybody is under the same situation. Right now, of course, I totally understand for Kieran, or for Sam Osborne, or those athletes from like another hemisphere is the same for US people. In the past, they had like all the races in their own soil, and now they have to travel really far away. So hopefully, and like I explained before, we have like very strong team in US and in Asia Pacific to make this happen in the next few years.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how it's gonna evolve. But to be fair, we also have to say that it's only the second year of the World Cup, and I mean it can't be perfect like straight away, but as you just explained, there's a lot going on in the background. And I mean, XTERRA has so many, beautiful locations all over the world already. So I think there's definitely some places that might be joining the World Cup in the next couple of years. But I also must say, like a location like Taiwan makes it pretty fair for everyone, because no one really comes from Taiwan. I mean, there were some local athletes, but everyone had to travel there. Everyone knew, okay, it's going to be a hot and humid race, and was up to everyone to adapt as much as they could. And I'd say like locations like these, if you have some of those, they also make it make it the same for everyone again. And as you mentioned in the beginning, especially the Asia market is growing rapidly. So maybe there's some cool locations joining the World Cup series on that side as well. So getting deeper into the World Cup, again, it started off last year with 7 stop. So that hasn't changed this year. So it's also 7 stops again. But last year we had, so to speak, 2 chokers, 2 races that didn't count into the World Cup ranking. But the World Championship was a must-count race. You didn't need to race, but the race counted for the overall ranking. And there's also short track races for some of the World Cups. Can you take us into that? How did you also come up with the short track idea, and with the 7 race stop? Was it because you couldn't find more races that would be joining the World Cup series, or did you say, okay, 7 races is definitely enough for everyone?
So 2 questions. One is about the short track. So this is an older project. We start short track in 2019 in Czech. This comes from, like to have like more a race that is more show, to be able to film it better without huge budget. So the short track is a different race only for elites. Small participation, 25 in the past. Now we move up to 30 athletes maximum. Very short lap. So the short track idea was really just to have a product, in XTERRA that help us to film better, to provide better images. It's really about promotion, and to show that our sport can be nice, if we can, televise it, if we can broadcast it way better. So this is what we prove with the short track, because we have now some amazing races that, like, for example, also with the support of Czech TV, we have like this race on the official Czech TV, and it's with a big production, and we can see how nice it is. And so it started before the World Cup, and not really for the World Cup. But then when we create the World Cup, we understood that will be perfect to add, the short track and the full distance, because of course it's the World Cup. It's only for profession. The World Cup points and all the World Cup project, it's only for elite athletes, not for age grouper. The age grouper, they are still racing on their region, so we still have the whole system like for amateurs. And
but as you said before, the amateurs know if they're gonna race a World Cup race, they can definitely expect a little bit more difficult courses and harder racing.
Yeah, they can, of course. If not all the races are different or harder. For example, like you said, Belgium is always the same. Since many years, we didn't make it harder for the World Cup, because this is what we expect in Belgium. This is a classic race. Oak Mountain also, this race is there since years. What we... For Taiwan, for example, you saw like that it's very hard to find an easier race, easier course there. It's very technical, and they have to create most of the trail. So it's hard to have a smooth trail from scratch, when you have to every year like cut, all the trees, because when they have a typhoon, then 1 month after, like you have trees who have grown, very quick. But what we saw, it's the people accept better. They might be like complaining a lot if it was just a a normal race, because now they see that this is a World Cup, and they accept that it's harder than what they can see in other races. And so to come back on the short track and the how we manage points and things like that. Like you mentioned that last year we had some joker, so you were able to remove some of the races. And at the end of the year, after this first experience, we understood and we study. Of course, we never really come up with an idea by ourselves. We also study what the other major sport are doing, like mountain biking, like cycling, or I don't know, like trail running, and all the sport around us, or biathlon. So we realized that for people to follow, the World Cup ranking, that in fact you never know who is really the leader, because you have to remove at the end of the year the bad race that athletes have, all this. So and we saw that many other sports that were doing that in the past, they all switched to all the race count, because they realized it was easier for people to follow. So we also decided to do the same, and we made many calculations, and we realized, in fact, that with the exact what happened last year, if we made some calculation, that even with this new ranking system, it will be exactly the same. Almost no changes, because everybody have a bad race, everybody have a flat one day, are sick. So of course every race counts, and maybe someone will be very conservative, will never win a race, and try to be always on the podium, will have more chance. But for what we put on the system, all last year result, and at the end it was exactly the same. So we think finally it's not a big changes.
And now a short commercial break from our second presenter, Feels Like. And now a short commercial break from our second presenter, Feels Like. As you know, I had a serious cycling accident. Among other injuries, I experienced severe knee pain and inflammation in my elbow. That's why I started using the CBD muscle complex, and I was genuinely surprised at how quickly I noticed improvements in my symptoms. I'm typically skeptical of products making big promises, but with the CBD muscle complex, I quickly shed that skepticism because I truly felt a difference. If you're injured or simply feeling the strain from intense training, the muscle complex can help you recover faster or enhance your regeneration. Use the code Klartext10 or Sebi10 to get a 10% discount on the premium products from feels.like, where every ingredient is an active ingredient. See for yourself, and now continue to enjoy the podcast with Nico and Sebi.
So it was not that you basically wanted to force or needed to force athletes to be part of all the World Cup stops, but merely to make it more interesting to the audience as well, because it's pretty much the same fields at every race, and it's not like that at this race, because it's so hard to get there, and a lot of people will leave it out that there's a very little field. But so it was more like on the media side, or on the public relations side, that you said, okay, we're gonna make all 7 races count.
Of course, it was both. It was all, but already last year, if you remember, and we kept this this point of the rules, is to get access to the bonus at the end, to the prize money, the final prize money of the World Cup. You have to race 2 out of the 3 continental champ, and this rules was exactly to push athletes to get out, especially European, because if you are in Europe, it's so easy to stay home and have many races inside Europe. So we already, like last year, create some rules to make sure we will push athletes to do like another race in another continent, and of course to put all race count, it bring another aspect to try to push athletes to race more. But So this is for sure, but we know it's not 100% fair, like we said earlier, for people like Kieran or for Josiah or athletes outside of Europe. But somehow we need to build something simple that the people can follow, and also like for us to have a good base and slowly build, and hopefully like we said earlier, that in the near future it will be more balanced, with more race in Asia, more race in US, and people will pick where they want to race, and then after it's up to, when you know the rules, then you see and you follow it.
But what has changed a little bit to last year? Because you said last year it was mandatory to do 2 out of the 3 continental championships, and I mean, now this year obviously every race counts, but I think every race also counts the same in terms of points. So if you want to leave out a race, I mean, it's up to you, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a championship race.
Yes, this is, again, it was to simplify, to make it easier to understand and to make more, really simpler. You still,
but why then you still have the championship races?
But we still have the championship races. We have to count, because the championship, to our like continental championship, are the very important races, and so we wanted to have as much athletes possible on those championship races. So this is why we kept these rules, that to access to the bonus, to the prize money, you need to do at least 2 of the 3 continental championship. Still, again, it's mainly because it's not balanced. It's for European, because you living in Europe, you can maybe, if you are really strong and you're always in the podium, you can stay in Europe, and with 4 full distance and like 2 short track out of 3, you can make like maximum of points, even not going to Taiwan or to the other location. So it was still to make sure we have a core of athletes who really want to play, like the World Cup, moving to the big event.
So see, it's still in the rules that you have to do 2 out of the 3 continental championships,
yes.
But with the addition that every race counts.
Yes, exactly.
I see. Okay,
but this one somehow is just for the bonus. You will be in the, even like if you do, like you stay in Europe, you win all the races. You can be maybe top 5 of the World Cup. And you will be at the end of on the ranking. It's just like you cannot access to the prize money.
All right. But does the next person move up then in the ranking, or if someone is 5th in the World Cup and is not eligible for the bonus, does the next person move up? Or
I mean, for the bonus, for example, if we have like the number 5th in the ranking. So we have, at the end, you have the ranking that will be public, like it's about just the points. And then we have the ranking of the people who did the 2 continental, that for the prize money. So, and then we send, for example, for last year, it was very easy for the men, or on the top 10, all the men did, like 2 continental. So we just had to follow the list. But for the women, we had like maybe 2 or 3 women in the top 10 who didn't race, 2 out of the 3 continental champs. So we had to go down on the list to find who are the top 10. And I know Lorena, for example, she was not in the top 10 on the ranking, but she was on the top 10 for the bonus, because she did race 2 continental.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that you get rewarded also when you do a lot of these important races, and get out of your comfort zone, because traveling is never easy for athletes, and also to compete at a high level then. But I think that's definitely one of the aspects that make the World Cup so interesting. So what are your predictions for this year's World Cup? I mean, we have seen a very French domination last year, both on the men's and on the women's side. And now we had the first World Cup stop in Taiwan without the big favorite Arthur Serrier. But yeah, Felix Forissier, so his fellow countryman, won this race in a big fashion. How do you think this year's World Cup gonna evolve?
I mean, it was already like quite interesting last year because Arthur Serrière was so strong, and we thought he will smash the World Cup, and he started the season and he was really not that strong. He was like he got a heat stroke in Taiwan, then he was back in very good shape in Oak Mountain, and then in Belgium he was again not really strong. So it was very interesting. And this is the good point with the World Cup is it's really hard to be always strong during the whole season. So this is what makes things interesting. This for this first race in Taiwan, I was not really surprised about Felix because he was already like the one who can beat Arthur Serrière when they were both like 100%. They were so close and quite far ahead of a lot of the others when they were like competing to each other. And I knew for this season, Felix changed, his coach. He went to like a big training group with like other professional athletes, like training for Olympics. So he made some good changes to be like even more professional. And so we saw that from the start, from the first race, even Arthur Serrière was not there. I think he proved that he was like very, very strong because from the start he took off on the bike and he did the whole race by himself. So yes, I think we will have to watch out of Felix and Greece. The next step will be interesting because Arthur will race there and we will have the first confrontation between those two.
And what do you think on the women's side?
The women's side, so far, since last year, we see this is like a big competition between Alizé and Solène. So it looked like Solène starts also very strong. Alizé had a little injury because Alizé, it's my wife who coach Alizé, so I know a little bit better, more about Alizé's training. So she had a small injury. So at the end, she was pretty happy about her performance because she, like maybe like 3 weeks before, she was not even sure she will start in Taiwan. So at the end, so it was pretty good. So Marta will also like be stronger and stronger because now she is a full-time pro athlete and this is the first season for her. So I'm sure she will get closer from these two. And hopefully we'll see Sandra back in Greece. Even Sandra, she's also like mixing with mountain biking. She's very strong. She's on the national team in Italy for mountain biking for marathon. So we hopefully she will also like keep racing with us. And we saw some new athletes that like Anna Zender from Switzerland. That was nice to see her like in 5th position. So, but Greece will be like more dense because more European. We have Emma Ducreux will start again, and so we will see. Like it will be like always like race after race. It's always so interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in general, you can definitely say that the depth of the field has increased since the introduction of the World Cup. It's also going to be interesting to see how it evolves in the next years, especially with everything that's happening now in road triathlon with the T100, the Ironman series. And well, Challenge not doing anything yet, but yeah, I have the feeling that there might be even more people joining the XTERRA because this evolution in the road triathlon actually makes it a bit harder for professionals. I mean, I've followed the T100 a little bit and to get into these races, it's pretty much a lottery. I mean, once you're in there, it's pretty easy, but to get to this point it's a really long way. And I think that there might be a few people who get tired of always trying to qualify for those races. And also for the Ironman series, there will be some people that benefit a lot from it, but we have so many pro athletes, especially in Europe right now, that there might be some who say, okay, what XTERRA is doing looks pretty professional to me. because you also have to say, I mean, every professional gets really good coverage at each XTERRA race. You get photos, you get some good videos. You have the World Cup ranking that you share on social media, so it makes it also for the audience very catchy and easy to follow along. So it's gonna be interesting to see. And I mean, last year in Belgium, we saw how it can be. Like, we had 70 professionals on the start, and let's hope it's gonna be similar in the upcoming years. And besides that, XTERRA has also introduced trail running and some other events that join the big main events. So I think definitely seen the signs of the time that getting out there in nature becomes increasingly more popular. Yeah, what are your predictions for the next years? How's the World Cup gonna evolve?
So first, to bring also a new element of from what you just said, it will be like the new youth World Championship in Molveno, in the World Championship this year. So this is also our big new project of 2024. It's to exactly what you said, to also make sure we work more actively in our future and our new next generation of athletes, and not only hoping they will come from the road, but from the start. Because I think you know that it's the same in France, in Germany, in many countries. When you are a kid, you start triathlon. If you go to a triathlon school, you start with a mountain bike. They never send you directly to the road. First, you learn how to swim, run, and bike. It's on track, on a field, like on the grass. So all the triathletes, the kids, their first triathlon are always somehow cross triathlon. And what we realized the last few years, it's okay. They all start with a mountain bike, but when they start to have like 14, 15, there is no more races if they want to stay in a mountain bike. All the big races, the official races, to have a goal, when you start to be competitive, you're a teenager and you start to really focus. We had nothing to offer to those young athletes, and this is why we said we need to slowly have a real goals for those athletes. So this is why we launch the World Championship, the Youth World Championship for 14, 15, Youth A, Youth B, like 16, 17, and Junior 18, 19, with official race for all of them. They will have their own race, on their distance accordingly to what they can do, for this age, like totally adjusted to World Triathlon rules. So we also hope this will be a big success in Molveno. It will be on Sunday this year. It will be like the Youth A will be like Sunday morning on the kind of like super sprint distance. And then the Youth B and the Junior, they will do a sprint distance. So just one loop of what you do, like you do 2 loops of each, they will do only one. And they will cross the line with the title, with everything, like, the elite or the amateur. So, and then we'll do the same at the European Championship and on test. This year it's all test, and then next year we'll have this in every continent. We'll have like youth will qualify on every races, on the sprint or kids race. So we have a big project to make sure we start to build a real future with athletes who will focus from the start on cross triathlon.
That's very interesting, yeah, and you've definitely seen the signs of the time. Also, when I think back of my own triathlon history or background, I also started with a mountain bike, or at least when I had my first road bike, it was not really made for fast racing, but definitely makes sense to try to keep the kids also on the fun side of things, because they like to play around in the mud and in more technical more technical parts of the biking. And it's gonna be interesting to see how it evolves from there. It's really try to preserve the young kids to stay in the sport is definitely a very good idea. So yeah, very interesting to see how it's going to be in Molveno. And do you plan it in Molveno for the first time, or beforehand in Belgium, or no, Czech Republic already?
Czech
will
be
Czech is the first one.
Czech will be the first test, but we really promote and make like Czech is open, so everybody can race there, and will be maybe more locals, people from Czech or around will race this first official European Youth Championship. But Molveno will be the first one where all the kids, I mean, a teenager will race there. They will qualify, and we have like 11 youth who qualified and signed up from South Africa, for example, and we are so proud of that, because we thought for the first year it will be mainly people from Italy, France, Germany, Austria, like people who have not a lot of travel to go to Molveno. But seeing that 11 kids like sign up after the race in South Africa, so willing with their parents, and this is what our crew there said. Some parents, they are not active at all, but their kids are really active and doing triathlon, and for them it's a big opportunity to travel. They say, oh, let's visit Italy, that's amazing, and they have a goal, and they would go there with their kids. So it's just the start of the season, and we have already some really good sign about this new project. And yes, I hope it will be like a big success in Molveno with this first youth world championship.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's definitely something that makes XTERRA unique. Just the community and also the locations and everyone coming together. And I think that's even gonna grow bigger in the next couple of years. And as already said, you also have trail runs. So for everyone who's not doing triathlon yet, you can also join the XTERRA community doing just the trail run. I also thought in Taiwan, because some of the elite guys also did the trail run on Sunday. I was so toasted. I don't know how they did that, but they did a 30K trail run in the heat. It was definitely out of this world. But are you also planning to take in more trail runs or more mountain bike races within these XTERRA races, or do you have any plans on that side?
Yeah, trail run is also a big focus that we start maybe 3 years ago now. We have like in Taiwan is the same weekend we have the triathlon and the trail run. Sometimes it's the case, to have like in the same weekend a big trail and attached to the triathlon. But as we try also to grow the trail run like as a big part of XTERRA, we have now more and more races are only trail running. And some big events. For example, if you are familiar with trail running, Coma Pedrosa in Andorra was 5-time the world championship for sky running, and 20 years of sky running is now part of the XTERRA trail running series. So because we work with this brand, the same organizer, to grow the XTERRA triathlon in Spain. So he decided to also move his trail run to XTERRA, because we have a global strategy with this company. But this is very good for us. We have some beautiful, like the Dolomiti di Brenta Trail, that was our European trail running championship last year. It's an amazing race, the same place in Molveno, that's also an old race. So we have now many events also over the world, only for trail running, and with its own development. So like before, trail running was a little bit like a side event, just okay, with the big triathlon on the weekend, and then if some part of the family want to do the trail run, we have a 10K, but more like a side animation. Now we want to grow it seriously, because we know the potential of trail running, and we have a big history with trail running too. So we try to grow it in a proper way, and we've taking over many also races that they want to join us.
Yeah, sounds like a really good plan you have in mind, and as you can already see, it works out pretty well. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it was definitely around 500 the trail runners that we saw in Taiwan, and in a pretty exotic location, and it's going to be even more so in Europe when there's more people able to join the venues. But definitely very interesting to see. Yeah, this actually brings me to the end of the podcast, and to conclude, I have some final questions for you, Nico.
Let's go.
So better strap your belt. No, it's not going to be that tough ones. But because you said in the beginning you also did a road triathlon and then switched over to XTERRA, what would you say are the different aspects of each, and why would you convince someone to do or to at least try an XTERRA race at least once in their lifetime?
Like you said, we have like beautiful location, and you can discover, much better location with a mountain bike and trail running than on the road. So if you like to travel, if you want to meet different culture and beautiful like location, and you love nature, for sure XTERRA is something you have to try. But and I would say like a lot of people will think mountain bike it's dangerous. What we face somehow to convert road triathlon to XTERRA is this mountain biking. I try and I crash and it's too dangerous. But in fact, road biking is dangerous, because if you see how many people get killed by car every year, this is where the people can die. It's not on your mountain bike. Of course, if you crash on a mountain bike, you may break a bone, but how many people die on mountain bike crash comparing to people get killed by cars? So this is for me, it's also like now, before, when I was an athlete, like professional, I was riding a lot on the road because it makes you more power, and like you can do more mileage without pushing too hard. So most of my training was on a road bike. But now, like I'm quite scared on the road. I want to just ride my mountain bike because you are safe alone in the mountains. It's like you have like less pollution, and you have less noise. It's peaceful. So that would be like my biggest argument.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that side. I mean, especially in the last couple of years, it has. The traffic has increased, but in my opinion, also the way drivers are acting on the road, they got so much more aggressively. And actually, I also know at least 5 to 10 persons that have died in a car accident on the road bike. And that's definitely a very good point you mentioned there. And maybe also a good way to get into the mountain bike side of things is maybe to start with gravel biking, and then try out some trails. And if you see, okay, you can handle those trails pretty well, you can also try it on a mountain bike. A mountain bike actually makes it easier than a gravel bike. But gravel bikes are actually also allowed on at XTERRA races, aren't they? Or
no, they are not. They are
not allowed.
In fact, we have like a project that they are still like, because like we discuss about so many new projects that we also have one, but we never had the time, because again we want to focus on the other, like the World Cup, the youth championships, or all this important project. But we still have one project of long distance, and we had like already 4 different races with XTERRA long distance, and we still have like one in Belgium, we have one in Czech, we still have 2 long distance for the season. And on the long distance races, the gravel are allowed, but not on the classic one.
All right, yeah, makes sense. So the longer ones are technically a bit easier than
exactly. This is the goal, is to make the longer one like easier, more on the really gravel focus, so on fire roads and longer, so more for this project. I believe it can also like be good for our future. It's more like we said, to convert roadies to come, to visit us as XTERRA. If you have no skills and you are a little bit afraid, you go to the long distance in Ardennes in Belgium, and then it will be only far road, but so it's safe, no cars, but nothing technical. So it's a good step to try XTERRA, and then after you again, we have different level of races. Of course, if you have no idea about mountain biking and you start with Taiwan, or it's maybe not a good idea.
Yeah, but it's nice that you have something for everyone. So it's definitely a good way to get into the XTERRA side of things. At least as you don't have e-bikes being legal on the bike course, it's all good. Or also,
only for me. For me.
For the coverage, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. So one final question: what does the XTERRA community make so special?
This is hard to say. I don't know, because like I said, when I discovered the XTERRA community, it was a strong connection in between organizer, the XTERRA crew, athletes, and there is a big respect between athletes. For example, they are always quite friendly in general. So, and it was like this when I started in 2001, and I hope it's still the same. And I'm happy if you, as an athlete, you can feel that it's still like quite friendly and a big respect in between athletes. It's hard to say. I don't know. I hope this is something maybe the first started and it keep running now, and means maybe the athletes going like on a mountain bike and on the nature, they are maybe a little more relaxed and laid back, and maybe it's also because there is not too much pressure, not enough like I don't know, like media or money. That it's sometimes this is the tricky part, and we say, okay, we need to grow, we need to get bigger, but maybe we lose this. So it's but we at the same time we want to be like a bigger sport, but I hope we can grow and have more elites and more visibility and be a way bigger sport and keep this this mentality and this spirit. I hope. I don't know if it's possible, but let's hope.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. So yeah, even comparing it to road triathlon, yeah, I mean I can mostly talk about the elite guys, but it seems like everyone is is happy for the performance of the other athletes, and yeah, I mean, as you said, it also feels to me that people are more relaxed, coming out of this background, being out there in nature, and yeah, doing it a lot for leisure as well and for enjoyment. And I mean, road triathlon most of the time is just very straightforward, a lot of very hard training, and it's cool about XTERRA that it's also very much about the technical aspects. You have to be a very good bike rider. You have to be able to run smooth on trails with your running shoes. And so, yeah, definitely something that everyone should at least try to get an opinion about this kind of racing. Yeah, so I think we covered a lot of things. Thank you so much for your time, Nico. And
thank you to invite me.
We see each other again at XTERRA Greece for the next World Cup stop.
Exactly. See you in a few weeks. Huh?
Thank you so much. And yeah, take care. And yeah, if there's anything coming up, just keep me in the loop.
Okay, I will. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode with Nico Lebrun as much as we did. If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so in the following ways. Leave positive reviews on all podcast platforms, recommend us to others, and of course, send us a small coffee donation via PayPal to the email address iaswim@web.de. Thank you so much for your support. Now, let's hear a brief word from our presenter, Primal Harvest. As mentioned at the beginning of the episode with the code Klartext Triathlon, also available in the show notes, you'll get a 15% discount on your entire purchase. If you subscribe to Primal Harvest, you will receive 15% off on the first and second billing. Primal Harvest offers fantastic products of which I've personally had a great experience. Whether it's Primal Greens, Primal Hydration, or the high-quality collagen products, there is something for everyone. With that said, enjoy listening, and we'll see you again soon.